What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we are here every Wednesday night on Hump Day. And I'm talking about myself, host Stevie, alongside co-host Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darlings. I'm doing wonderful, darling. It's beautiful. And I'm with you. So that's always amazing.
I love it. Well, this is episode 485. And a little bit later in the show, we are really excited to bring up our special guest, Zachary Zane, to the show, where he has a brand new book called Boyslut, which you and I both read.
Yes.
It is the perfect summer read. Oh, and hi, Zachary.
Hello.
We were
Oh,
gonna
wait.
bring you up.
Am I up too, or am I here too early?
You're a little bit early. We can
I also need
switch
to
it
figure
over.
out my lighting here. I'm a little bit too dark. How do I?
We could
hold on, let me
switch it
sign off
up
here.
if you want to do the interview now. You want to do the interview?
Sure, we can do it now. Hold on. I don't have great lighting. I realize that.
You want to fix that, and we'll bring you up in like 20 minutes.
That's perfect. Let me fix the lighting.
Fix the light, and we'll bring you up in 20 minutes. I love it.
Hold on. I'll be back.
Okay.
I love it. Nice. I love an eager guest, but
All
this
right,
book
Mark
is so
Show. Here we
good.
go.
Okay. We are live, everybody. Bring your questions to us. Like I said, Zachary Zane's coming up to the show in a little bit, 9:20, Zachary. So we'll pull you up then. Oh, I love a good follow-up story, Kodi. And on episode 484, we were talking about singer, pop artist, LGBTQ artist Troye Sivan and his brand new video, Rush. And we were giving our opinions about how we love the video. You even said that you downloaded ahead of his Friday drop release of the whole album.
Yep.
So that just shows you how much we are excited about this album. Well, we were also talking about the lack of body diversity that some people on gay Twitter were talking about and calling him out for. Well, he apparently got the memo or read his Twitter account and responded back, because in an interview with Billboard, Sivan directly addressed the criticism and actually gave a very candid explanation about meeting up in terms of including more body types in his Rush music video. So here's what he said. I definitely hear the critique. To be honest, it just wasn't a thought we had. We obviously weren't saying we want to have one specific type of person in the video. We just made the video, and there wasn't a lot of thought put behind that. Well, he says that he thinks that he's also later on in the interview that he got the message, and I'm sure like what you had referenced, Kodi, that I'm sure he will on the next music videos.
It's gonna be all.
I mean,
it's gonna be the most diverse ever. He's gonna be like, everybody's invited, darling.
Yeah, but there was one interview that kind of took him by surprise, and it was by oh my gosh, what magazine was it? There was an article, he said, and in the same sentence, the person said, "Eat something, you stupid twinks." Sivan explained that really bummed him out to read that, because he said he had his own insecurities with body image growing up. Today, I think that everyone's body is as beautiful as it is, including my own. And it just sucks to see people talking about other people's bodies. He hopes more body types are included in films, TV shows, music videos across the board, and mainstream projects. So, I mean, I give him... he didn't have to address this, Kodi, and I think part of the whole thing that we were talking about on that episode was look at the amazing LGBTQ artists that are now appearing in our playlist that we are excited to. You like I said, are downloading the album that drops on Friday.
Yes.
The song is so good.
It's so good.
And I just think that, do you give him a pass for addressing it, or what do you think?
I'm so glad that he took into consideration the feedback that people are giving him. It could only, at the end of the day, enhance his career to be more inclusive. I was just listening to the first trans person to own a venture capitalist firm, and they said that companies that are more diverse. I know, right? Listen to me. I should be on Forbes. You're like, who is the Kodi today? And they were saying that more diverse companies do better, actually. So I think it just reflects that the more body diversity and the more inclusive you are, the better you'll do in life in general. So I think that we should all take that into account. And I really honestly hope that Troye doesn't listen to what I said about him being the least attractive one on the video, because he's super cute. I think he's adorable, and just everybody else was a model. So I don't know, but yeah.
And let's be clear, there's plenty of diversity in terms of people of color
Yes.
in that music video. This was
Body
specific
diversity.
to body diversity. And just a little shout out to Jan. If you guys know Jan, the drag queen who was on RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm not sure what season. The season I watched, I think it was season 12 and All Stars 6.
I can find it real fast.
I think it was season 12 and All Stars 6.
That sounds right.
Jan delivered an iconic lip sync to this song, Rush. And guess what she came out in? In a full garb of a Rush, Popper's Rush bottle, that everybody was going crazy when she performed this. I believe it was in New Orleans. I want to get that right. If it wasn't, I'm sorry about that, but it was so good. People were going crazy. People were lip syncing back to it. Nashville. I think it was in Nashville.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And not only did she have this huge popper bottle costume that she unzips it, and then she has this like party dress that also has Rush on it. And so what a good homage. What a good prelude to the album dropping this Friday. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. So I'm just happy for Troye, and I'm glad he addressed this criticism that was kind of following the music video, which I love so much. So
I hear that. I love it too. I think that honestly, in my head canon, Jan had that costume already beforehand, and she heard the song and she was like, it's time to break out the Rush costume now. I have the perfect outfit for this song to perform in. So
Jan, yes. I love it.
I love that performance.
Well, on episode 485, we were also talking about spontaneity and how I thought of myself as not very spontaneous, but I was also sharing a story of a guy that I was with that I loved his feet, and we were getting into it all. Well, he heard the episode and he said, I think you're very spontaneous.
Oh, so a positive review. Come through.
Yeah. I did say I'm very spontaneous in the bedroom.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what matters the most.
I think so. But I also have this other guy that I've known for a while, and I've talked about him before. We had good sex before, and then he's come around recently. We got together and it was really good, but he's been texting me recently at all hours of the night. And I'm talking about 11:30, 2:30, 3 a.m., asking what I'm doing, what you doing. And I don't...
Not you up?
Yeah, and I'm not that spontaneous when it comes to things like that. And it came to the point where last night he said, send me a pic, and I just didn't respond. I was doing my thing. I went to bed early. I didn't even see it. And then this morning I got okay, ... Like, in other words, I'm assuming he's thinking, okay, I get the message. You're not interested. It's not that I'm not interested. It's just, you can't text me at least me, at the 11th hour in my mind for hooking up like that. It's just not going to work. And
I hear that.
He's hot, but he's not fulfilling me in every single way.
Oh my.
Like, maybe if the other guy that I was referencing on 484 would hit me up, I would probably be more inclined to. It's vanilla fucking in my mind, and it's good, but not to just turn it around like that. I'm not that spontaneous like that. And are you?
I feel like I am. I feel like I could get it just really depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling like a little randy, then I definitely am going to get up and go get that ass. But yeah, I think that under normal circumstances, I'm kind of like you in that I will, if you hit me up and we didn't pre-plan anything, then I might roll over and go to sleep and not even acknowledge that you text me. So spontaneity in moderation. That's my final answer.
I like it. I like it. We are in front of a live audience. I see some of you. Hi, Doug. Hi, Adrian. Get your questions together because we have a special guest coming up soon. Not yet, but soon. And we got a couple more topics that we have to get to. I almost skipped this one topic, but we have to talk about this. We're calling this next thing viral videos. And there's a couple viral videos that have gone blasted that I'm all here for. One of them was on YouTube, and it was by a guy by the name of Kevin Leonardo, who was essentially showing us how he uses Nair to Nair his ass, like get rid of the hair. And literally on the video, he, in the first couple seconds, he says, "This is what my ass looks like right now. My hairy ass looks like right now." On YouTube, y'all.
I know, right?
You play the video and you see his hairy ass and a little bit of his dangling balls in the background. And they have to this was maybe a week ago, a week and a half ago, I even want to say. They have not taken this video down. It is still up there. And a lot of people on the comment sections were like, what? WTF? Like, it's a lot to see so early on. Like, warm me up a little bit. Like,
Yes.
I need a little bit of warm up before I see that hairy ass on YouTube.
And he spread his cheeks too. It was it wasn't just like a little, like a shy, oh, I'll just do a little wink. It was the whole thing. It was wild. And I wasn't ready for it. I was very shocked because it's like in the first 3 seconds.
Right.
So you at least warm me up, like you said, give a little warning. You're going to be seeing some whole. YouTube actually made me verify my age before I could even see the video. And I wish they would have asked a second time, are you willing and able to see some whole? Because consent is key at the end of the day. And I think that it should be 2-factor if you're showing whole on YouTube. But kudos to YouTube because they're letting gay creators be gay creators and not shadow banning them.
I guess it's just like we've been taken down on Instagram for far less. Simply, I don't even know, maybe we were talking about something in one of our short videos, and then this guy's spreading his ass cheek, showing his hairy ass.
Let's go on YouTube. We can make some loot.
And I just think he wants us to drop the link. And yes, I will post this right now in this conversation, Zachary, and you can let us know what you think.
He wants to check it out.
Check it out, and we want to know what you think. I just think it was a lot. I would think I was having my cinnamon toast crunch. No, I'm kidding, but and it was just a little bit too much for my 9 a.m. morning meeting that I was trying to have to see that hairy ass that early on. And they weren't even in bed with me, Kodi. So that's the whole thing.
Right.
Anyways, moving on to viral videos that have made the cut right now. There is a video of a Spider-Man kissing a guy on the subway. And we're talking about LA that went viral. And I think for all the right reasons. So there's a guy, Henry Jimenez Curbox. He posts videos in English and sometimes in Spanish. He recently dressed as Spider-Man and went on the downtown LA subway. Well, he struck the iconic Spider-Man upside down pose as he grabbed onto the handlebars and clamped his legs on and went upside down, a la Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. And as he did, his boyfriend went over to him as everybody was watching and he took his mask off and kissed him right there. And I'm looking at the video right now. It's so adorable. It's so cute. There was no anti-hate crime. Everybody was just loving the moment. What did you think of it when you saw this, Kodi? And I thought it was epic.
Oh, me too. It made me want to go out and buy a Spider-Man suit right now so I can get me some kisses on the subway. It was just lovely. And it just warmed my heart because nobody was really judging them on the entire subway. And I feel like this is how TikTok is following suit with YouTube, and this is how these platforms should be treating gay creators again, because they shouldn't be marginalizing us and making us feel like we are not equal to or the same as the straight creators out there. I feel like they get away with murder, honestly. But
Yeah, it was just nice to see because we have reported on several anti-hate LGBTQ crimes, and LA is had their share of crimes against the LGBTQ community, and so to see this and have everybody either take a video of it, clap practically, it was really inspiring and shows that what could be. And I just think it was really great
yeah.
too. Yeah. I watched an earlier video of this guy tell his mom that he was proposing to his boyfriend, the same guy,
Oh.
and she did not take it well at all, and he's crying
Oh.
in the video. So it's nice to see that he can come back. I don't know if he's at all patched it up with his mom at all, if she's accepting of it all now, but at least he's posting some positive content out there right
Yeah.
now, and I think that's really good. Like I said, we are live, and Billy watching us says, I saw that video too. It was cute. I love Spider-Man. Can someone put a Spider-Man costume for me, please? Put on as I know, right? I know. It's one of the sexiest costumes I think you can put on, right, Kodi?
I love Spider-Man's
You
costume.
it's your comic book, so
I
come
was
on
gonna,
now.
I was gonna go down the line. I love a He-Man costume. I love
Oh,
a Nightwing costume because he has the greatest ass in all of comic books. Who else do I love? You know what? You can't go wrong in spandex. That's the end of the story.
well, there you go. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, we have to talk about this latest thing, and we want to hear from our special guest in a second when we bring him up. But recently, my favorite president, Obama, slammed LGBTQ plus book bans in an open letter to American libraries. That's right. President Barack Obama issued on a Monday a call to action for Americans to be mindful of efforts to ban books, as new studies show that a rise of challenges is sparked primarily by a wave of LGBTQ plus books. And in his remarks, the former president mentioned that many challenges relate to books about LGBTQ plus community, people of color, and other traditionally underrepresented groups. Quote, it's no coincidence that these banned books are often written by or feature people of color, indigenous people, and members of the LGBTQ plus community. Though there have also been unfortunate instances in which books by conservative authors or books containing triggering words or scenes have been targets for removal, Obama wrote in an open letter to American librarians Monday morning. I think this is really good that he did this because, I mean, we need to hear from our guest. Like, would Boyslut be allowed in libraries?
I wonder what he thinks.
I
Yeah.
know. Why don't we just bring him up right now and
Okay,
ask him
sounds
like
good.
what he thinks about this? Come on up. I think we have to. I don't know if we have to invite
I
him.
think he can come up on his own,
Let's
but I'll
invite him.
invite him.
Okay,
Oh,
you invite him to the stage because
he's here. I hear him.
Did that work?
It
Oh,
worked.
all right.
Hi.
yay! Welcome to the show. We are so happy to have you, Zachary Zane, to the show. We have so many things to talk about. Let me just introduce you.
Yeah,
You are the writer of the brand new book called Boyslut. You're Brooklyn based. You're a columnist, an author, sex expert, and you focus on sexuality, lifestyle, and culture. Congratulations on your brand new book, Boyslut. I read it. Kodi read it. It's really riveting.
Thank you.
As I said to you at the party last week when I saw you, my sister, we were in different seats coming from Puerto Vallarta to San Francisco, and my sister kept walking past me, trying to get my attention just to check on me. And she said, "Your head was just in the book." I'm like, "Yes, it's that good. It's really that good." So I want to thank you for writing such a great memoir, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. And I just want to say I did watch that video and I do see what you mean. Within about 8 seconds, it really is a zoom up of his hairy hole. Even though it's exactly what you described, I still was shocked, even though
Oh,
you described
good.
it perfectly. I now understand where you were coming from with the critiques of that video. It was, yeah, more than I expected. But anyway, yeah, we can get back to the book here. I just wanted to say
No,
that.
definitely. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, we have so many things to ask you, but first off, like I said, I love the book so much. I finished it last night. It's so honest, it's real, and dare I say, it could be helpful to so many people questioning their identity, whatever stage they are at. I know there's parts in the book that you preface by saying, Mom, Dad, please don't read this chapter. We'll
Yeah.
discuss a little bit later. You also admit to hurting past partners you've
Mhm.
been with. I guess the obvious question is, why did you want to write this book now and devote so much of yourself in this book?
It's interesting because I think I write about sex all the time, and I have like a
Mhm.
digital zine, which is like nonfiction erotica. So it's really graphic, raunchy, over the top queer sex, real sex stories that have happened to me and other kinksters, and we write about it. And
Ooh.
I think people have always assumed that because I am sexually open, that
Mhm.
means I'm vulnerable and open in every other capacity and every other aspect of my life. And if you like follow me on Instagram, for example, like I keep it very light and flirty and slutty and funny, but I'm not talking about my breakups. I'm not talking about my relationships with my family. I'm not talking about the times I've cried myself to sleep. So in this way, this book was a lot more vulnerable. And it's a
Mhm.
lot more of me that I've actually shown the rest of the world, even though I've been writing personal stories for about a decade. And that's what I've been doing full time as a writer here. But for me, it was really important to write this book because I had just never, seen a book written by a bisexual man about how to overcome sexual shame. I mean,
Wow.
that's the truth of it. And one of the important things I talk about in the book is I actually grew up in a very sex positive environment. I grew up
Mhm.
in a liberal Jewish
Yeah.
family in Los Angeles. I was the youngest of three boys, and when you're the youngest, you can like get away with murder at that point.
Yep.
There are a
That's
lot of
me.
killer.
Don't I know it?
Yeah,
You too, Cody? Oh my
No,
God.
I'm the oldest, and
Oh,
I was
okay.
just jealous the entire time. I was like, "What happened? I got beat within an inch of my life, and now he can just do whatever he wants." No, that's not fair.
That's exactly. It was not fair, but I reaped the benefits. But even growing up in the sex positive household, and I had gay uncles on both sides of my family, my mom's brother and my dad's brother. So I knew it was okay to be gay. And still, I had so much sexual shame. And that's just because, like, sexual shame or sex negativity is so pervasive. It
Mhm.
is so insidious. You pick it up from your teachers, your peers, the articles you read, the books, media, society, everything. So unless if you live in a nudist polyamory commune away from the internet in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere,
Yeah,
like no, if you live in the world today, you're gonna have sexual shame.
yeah.
And so this book is my journey about how I was able to overcome it. And for me, I had really not seen my story told,
Mhm.
especially being a bi person. And a lot of the book is dedicated to bisexuality, but also polyamory, embracing your kinks. There are
Oh,
other aspects of it as well. But there are unique struggles being a bi man that we kind of don't discuss. And often, like, especially when you Google bisexuality, when I first started writing about bisexuality, you like Google it and like what comes up are like 10 things to never say to a bisexual person or like 10
what?
myths about bisexuality. And at least when I started writing like a decade ago, there was no bi content for bi people. It was always
Mhm.
bi content trying to justify our existence to gay and straight people. But there was
Mm.
nothing about like how to date as a bi person. So many women won't date you. When I first came out as bi, the gay men were just extremely condescending. They'd
Mhm.
be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, honey, I was bi too. You'll get there." And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. And then they try to like make out with me. I'm like, what if I said that to you? Be like, oh, honey, you think you're gay? You're actually just straight. You'd be like, that is wildly homophobic. So
Yeah,
why is it not wildly biphobic when you say the same shit to me?
it's true.
Um,
Yeah.
like so, and the thing is, in writing this book, it came out now about 2 months ago, and I get a message every single day from someone telling me how positive this book has influenced their life in so many ways, and how they thought they were just so alone and how these tips are helping them embrace whether it's their bisexuality, their trans identity, their kinks, the fact that they actually want to be in an open relationship and have been afraid
Mhm.
with their partner, or been afraid to have less sex with their partner because that's not actually what they want to be doing, and sex is not the way that they actually emotionally connect with them, and there are other ways, whatever it is. And so this book for me, it's almost like a choose your own adventure in a sense. It's like my goal for it is for you to embrace whatever your relationship is with sex. And whether that means you're taking bareback loads at a sauna every day of the week that ends in the word day, I
Yummy.
want you to do that and embrace it and do it from a place of shamelessness, and hopefully doing it, for the right reasons, for it's fun, enjoyable, and you're not, craving more intimacy. Obviously, people sometimes have casual sex for not necessarily the right reasons. But if you are asexual, I want you to embrace that. If you are demisexual, meaning you only have sexual desires after you have a romantic connection or emotional connection, I want you to embrace that. If you like vanilla sex, embrace that. If you want open, whatever it is, I want you to embrace it. And hopefully I show you in this book, not only how you can embrace it, but how you can find a community of like-minded people that support you and accept you, and how you can also find partners who complement and match your specific relationship with sex.
I love that. I really, really do. And I just thought that your book was so witty and thoughtful, and it was
Thank
just
you.
hilarious. Thank you so much for writing this book. About the book, Boyslut, what is exactly a boy slut? What is that versus a whore specifically?
You know what?
Help
I
me
have a
out.
glossary in the beginning, and I have a quick, if I may,
Definitions. I need them.
if I may read, a quick definition of how I define boy slut here. It'll
Okay.
take me about a minute. Okay. You might not be thrilled by the title of this book or by the fact that I call myself and readers boy sluts. After all, the word slut is highly gendered, and it has seldom been hurled at me or men as an insult intended to harm, belittle, or control my behavior. Men are often praised for having sex with a lot of women. They're called a player or a regular Don Juan, whereas women are deemed simply sluts. This pervasive double standard is not new, and men have always benefited from it. I know I have. Unfairly, women who are called sluts are often deemed either mentally unwell, she's got real daddy issues, or undeserving of love. I'd never marry a slut. So why do I feel like it's my right to reclaim a word that hasn't typically been used to hurl and control me? First, I choose to identify as a boy slut because it exposes the double standard of promiscuity associated with men and women, and in doing so, hopefully works to dismantle it. Second, as someone who proudly identifies as a queer faggot, I know the power of reclamation. I hope to help remove some of the stigma and shame that accompanies being a boy slut. So, what exactly is a boy slut?
It's me.
All right, it's me. It's you guys. It's all of us.
Me too.
I define as a person of any gender or sexual orientation who approaches sex without a lick of judgment or shame. Being a boy slut is not about having a high body count. It's about having the sex you want, with whomever you want, however you want, without shame. Identifying as a boy slut is to give a gigantic middle finger to society, letting everyone on this planet know that you will not be controlled or behave a certain way just because that's what's considered normal, ethical, or right.
I love that. That's
There
so
we go.
great. And this just automatically just turned into a boy slut support group, right?
Thank
Here,
you.
right?
Good.
And this whole thing. So, that's fun.
Well, Zachary, I know you're a big fan of therapy, and you talk
Yes.
about it in the book. You talk about as a adolescent, I believe.
Yeah.
Was it a psychologist, psychiatrist? I'm not sure.
Well,
that you
when I was
saw?
8, my parents had me in therapy. I was seeing a child psychologist.
Right. And you have a funny story in there that we want people to read, but it's very funny because you were attracted to your therapist at
Yeah.
one point and you imagined him naked. I'm just curious, you don't have to tell that whole story, but what do you like about therapy now? And I know in your book, you encourage readers, because there's a whole thing about every end of chapter that I really appreciate, that you suggest things for the reader, not tell them, but suggest maybe you should consider this. That's really, in my mind, and I learned a lot on this, we'll talk about it in a little bit, kind of self-help that you encourage people to do. But can you just focus on the therapy side of it?
Sure. Yeah. I think, and that kind of comes like, it's not a strict memoir. I kind of have it as a memoir and manifesto. And that's because, I write the sex and relationship advice column at Men's Health magazine. I have a non-monogamy column at Cosmopolitan. I do give advice for a living, so writing like a
There you go.
memoir was like hard. I'm like, I just kind of want to say like one thing here. And my editor was like, no, you're allowed to do that. Like, it's your book. You can do whatever the fuck
And it's
you
never
want.
like waving the finger like you should do this or anything like that,
No,
listeners.
it's providing options. I think is what I'm
Yes.
trying to do. And you're allowed to pick whatever it is that you want. And a lot of the times, what I've realized in writing is people don't realize that these are valid options. Like, when I discovered bisexuality, I didn't think that was an option. I thought it was just gay or straight. When I discovered non-monogamy, open relationships, I thought you had to get married. I thought you could only be monogamous. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is an option that I can do. So I'm just trying to present other options that you might not be aware of. And if you're like, oh, this actually sounds like it might be a good idea for me, I want to try it out, that's great. If you see it and you're like, no, this is not me, this is actually harmful for me or something that could actually be detrimental to me, good. Have independent critical thought. I want you to. You don't have to agree with everything I say. Everything's not going to be for you. I'm sharing my experience. But to answer your question kind of more directly here, so talking about therapy, I mean, it's as queer men, you know what I mean? We have so much trauma, and trauma is such like, it's almost the word right now. I don't want to say it's devoid of meaning, but everyone's kind of using that capital T trauma, lower T. I want to be like, but we've experienced a lot of hardship. We've experienced a lot of hiding, a lot of lying about who we are to others, a lot about lying who we are to ourselves. We have a lot of internalized homophobia that we might not even realize at this point. We have internalized homophobia even after we've come out as gay. We have trouble having sex with men sober. We have trouble connecting, having intimacy. We're so afraid that other people are going to reject us that we are initially kind of so mean and withholding and cold. And sometimes we kind of mask it as like, oh, we're reading them to filth, when it's like, you're just being a mean cunt for no reason. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like there are kind of differences here. And especially one thing I realized when I moved to New York, and one thing I struggled with was initially making gay friends, not because like people wanted to be friends with me and I enjoyed it, but they were just mean. They were catty, mean gays. And I think in part because I moved here, at 25 and I was going to hot gay clubs and it was also with other 25-year-olds. But a lot of times what I see is, people from Alabama, Mississippi, Idaho, whatever, they come from a religious conservative household. They get kicked out of their house for being gay. They move to New York. And that is a great first step, but that is not solving all your problems. You still have so much trauma you need to work on. And I just want to encourage all queer men to get into therapy, to work on that trauma. And just by the nature of moving to New York, yes, like you have removed some obstacles in your life. You're going to experience less discrimination. You're going to be around more gay people who will accept you. But still, a lot of that stuff is deep rooted, and you really need to be able to tackle it at the source and be able to talk about it, which is why, I think every person needs to be in therapy, but specifically every queer person really needs to be in therapy.
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about our gay card. It's like we should look at our gay card and have the gay card should have therapy on there too to see. I think, Kodi.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And you talk a lot about shame in the book and how shame, if we had less shame as far as sex is considered, then we would be open to so many more things. We'd be open to experience ethical non-monogamy, for example. How do you define ethical non-monogamy, and do you subscribe to it? I feel like I know the answer to the second part of that.
No, I'm polyamorous and ethical non-monogamous. So ethical non-monogamy, and there are kind of other words for it. Some people just do consensual non-monogamy or simply say non-monogamy, is an umbrella term to describe essentially every relationship that's not monogamous, but it can take many forms, right? So you can be polyamorous, and poly means many, amory means love. So that means you're actually open to dating and having romantic relationships with multiple people. So you might have a boyfriend and a husband. You might have a boyfriend, a husband, multiple other secondary partners, whatever it is that you love and cherish, and you call them partners as well. Versus an open relationship means you have, one person who's your primary partner, your husband, your boyfriend, and then you're just open to having sexual connections with other people. So people in open relationships are not looking to have multiple boyfriends. They're not looking to have, a boyfriend, a partner, a husband. And often there are kind of rules in place, like these almost stopgap measures that try to prevent you from falling in love with other people. Right? So when you're in an open relationship, it might be like no sleepovers. Sometimes it's really frustrating when you fuck someone and like, oh, sorry, I don't do kissing on the mouth because my husband doesn't like it. I'm like, oh, for the love of God. But I am going to come inside you. But I get it. Exactly. I get it. Kissing can be a very emotionally intimate thing. And that's, again, kind of these things that you have in place sleepovers, no hooking up with exes, maybe no hooking up with the same person repeatedly, no dates, whatever it is, because the goal here is like, okay, I don't want you to fall in love with someone else, so let's try to stop it before it happens.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what open relationships are. And then there are like various forms of it. There's swingers, who's a subset of this. There are various types of polyamory, but those are kind of the main kind of distinctions here.
I love it. And we have questions. We are live, so we'll get to them in just a second. We see them coming through, but I just wanted to talk about in page 17, this really struck me. You said you were talking about sex, and a little bit later you talk about fetishes. You said each time, well, I think I'm on the wrong chapter, but one of the things that you talk about of fetishes is that everyone should be open to fetishes. And you have a very specific fetish that I don't want to talk about because I want everyone to read.
It's a wild
book.
one. It's a fun one.
It's a wild one. If you want to talk about it, that's great.
We don't,
but
no,
I
I
have
feel like
to
we can
s-
tease a little bit, but it's
Okay.
probably more intense than yours, is what I'm going to say. But
It's probably more
anyway,
intense, but I have
I
to
think you'd be
say-
surprised.
I have to say, when I read that, I'm in my early 50s, and just recently been comfortable expressing my fetish to partners, and reading that really gave me that much more license to do that. And you say that in the book that everybody has fetishes, and I almost feel like for mental health, the more you can express that, is what you're trying to say, the more healthy and happier our sex lives will be, and actually as individuals will be. Can you just talk about that, and what if you want to talk about your specific fetish, you can, but
We
I feel
don't
like
have to.
it's
We can
a deal
tease.
breaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We can tease. Well, I'm going to
We want people to
I'm
read
a little
the book.
disappointed, I have to say, but
Okay,
no,
we can.
whatever you're comfortable with.
I mean, I've been talking about it in front of live audiences. It's fine, but I think the point of this chapter was essentially to give people permission, right?
Yeah.
To be like, hey, one of the main things I get as a sex and relationship columnist is people essentially asking, am I normal? And they ask it in various different forms, but is it normal that I want my stepdad to piss on me? I can only come when I'm licking toes. I have to gag on dick and be blindfolded, whatever the fuck it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer, I'm like, first of all, is like, yes, you are normal, but also, what does normal mean? Like there is no such thing as normal. If you're looking at prevalence, which I think is often what people are looking at when they think of normal being like, how common is this? Which is not exactly, is it normal? That is a different question, but I think that's what they mean by it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say in the book, I'm like, so even if 0.01% of the population, not 1%, not zero, like 0.01% of the population has your kink, that means 800,000 people have your kink in the world. Like there are 8 billion people in the world, and now it's easier to find other people, like through FetLife, through Recon, which is kind of the really kinky. I don't know if you're probably half of your listeners do know it, half of them don't, but it's kind of like, it's like a fetish grinder, or it's more like FetLife that's really gay. But like between Reddit, FetLife, Recon, like it's now easier to find and connect with people with your kinks than ever before. But for me, for even my specific kink, I just talk about it. And I'm always surprised by how many people actually have it, right? When I'm like, hey, I'd be interested in doing this. Are you into it? And they're like, half the time, like, nope, that's too intense for me. The other half of the time was like, oh shit, that's hot. And I'm like, all right, let's fucking do this, right?
Yes.
So I think realizing that you are normal, not only are you normal, you're actually, it's not that hard to find other people into your very, very specific kink. And that the more you can talk about it, the more you can embrace it, just the less shame that you're going to be kind of experiencing, and the more happy you're going to be having sex. You're not going to be as worried about it. And you're also just going to be more sexually fulfilled because you're actually able to engage in your kink, right?
It's amazing because I have been practicing almost that mathematical equation that you just talk about. The more you talk about it, the more, I think with my kink, at one point, it took almost dancers and sex workers to explore it with, to find out, because I figured they'll be into it, that I'm paying for it, to then transfer it over. Actually, I could bring it up in people I hook up with and find out that 9 times out of 10 they're into it. And I've talked about it now. You talk about we talk about gay sex. I talk about it on my show now, and it's like I've come from 0 to 100 in just talking about it and getting what I really want sexually in bed. And it's so gratifying, satisfying, and all the above.
And most of the people, some people like, oh, that's gross. You know what I mean?
Right.
I sometimes do get that. But for the most part, I actually am shocked by how kind people are, where they're like, oh, no, that's too much for me. Oh, I'm not into it. And I think it's also you getting better at rejection too.
Mhm.
And when that happens, they're like, oh, are you into something else? I'm like, no, I was really looking for this specific thing right
Yeah.
now. Thank you. No harm, no foul. Wish, and they say happy hunting or whatever the fuck they sign off with, or I say that. I think it's also rejection is kind of a muscle as well that you get better with. So you get
And you talk
rejected.
about that a lot in the book too.
I have a
Rejection.
whole chapter dedicated to rejection, and that's something I wrote about because, firstly, I'm actually very good at getting rejected. That doesn't bother me that much anymore. But like me actually rejecting other people, I struggle with so much, especially because so often people get really upset with me, especially when you
Got
call
it.
yourself a boy slut and then you don't fuck someone. And they're like, oh, well, this guy fucks everyone. He's not fucking me. And they get really fucking mad or angry, or they expected something from me, or I don't know. I think I'm very clear about my intentions, usually going into a sexual relationship, whether it's casual or like I thought it was a casual sniffies hookup. We fuck for 10 minutes and then he's texting me 10 times. I'm like, hey, I'm not interested. And then he cusses me out, where I'm like, we said 8 words before we sent nudes. You came over, we fucked for 10 minutes and you left. Like, I don't know. Like, and then you texted me, you got mad that I didn't respond immediately. Like, I don't think I'm the asshole here, but I still feel like such an asshole. I still feel like I'm like, dude, like I'm sorry you're hurt, but like we barely spoke. We fucked for 10 minutes. Like how are we so not on the same page about this?
I don't know your last name, but you want to go on a date with me?
I don't know anything about you. So like it's like I just
Kodi, I know you want to get a question in there though.
I
Ask
do.
away.
But so the streets have been calling, and they want to know: are you equally attracted to all genders?
So it like waxes and it wanes, right? You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like I've noticed that like when I'm sleeping with a lot of men, I miss sleeping with women. When I'm sleeping with a lot of women, I miss sleeping with men. When I haven't slept with trans people or non-binary people, I miss them. I'm kind of greedy and just want everyone all the time. But in short, like they're like when it comes to like men and women, like yeah, I'm pretty evenly attracted. But again, like it's almost tough to say because there's some men I'm not attracted to, some women I'm not attracted to, some I am more. I'm in a cool place at my life right now where it's like I've really found this bisexual community, because for a while I was sleeping with more men just because it's so much fucking easier.
Like,
it
really is.
It's so easy.
Hey.
And now I'm in a place where like it's actually it's not easier to sleep with women, but it's easier. Like I actually meet women out at these sex clubs, and they're like they love bi guys, they love me, they hit me up. I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome too. So I'm actually sleeping with a lot of women right now. Actually, just got a vasectomy that I'm recovering from because I do not want babies, and my condom use has never been the best. That's me coming from the queer side. I feel like the gay male side from that aspect. We're not the best with condoms in the era of PrEP, or at least many of us are not. And I sometimes bring that over to the women, and I'm like, oh, I can get you pregnant. That's actually a valid concern that I need to be aware of.
Yeah.
So I actually just finally did that a week ago, and I'm finishing up recovery so I can finally start having sex again in a few days.
That's so funny that you talk about that, because we'll talk about a chapter that we won't get into, but I was so struck by Cocaine Turned Me Bisexual.
Oh, that was a fun chapter to write. And the title is just, my title.
I love the
really
chapter. I love it.
I skipped to that one, honestly.
Love that chapter. It's so good. But, I had to skip to this question, Kodi. You'll go back to your question.
Yeah.
But you talk a lot about bareback sex and STIs. And I have to agree with you, and we'll let people read it. But the whole thing that you're essentially saying right now about wear a condom, and you talk about in the book about seeing your doctor and them warning you after you've got maybe one too many STIs, the same STIs, that are you going to wear a condom? And your answer is always like, no. I mean, why am I going to? You do say that if there's antibiotics that are going to be like restrained and not
if
cover.
there's antibiotic resistant gonorrhea, I'll really have to
Yeah.
That's coming, I think, at some point, and that's going to scare the shit out of me because like that is a big deal. You'll have to be in the hospital in IVs as opposed to just getting one shot.
And I was wondering where you were going with this as I was reading it, but we got to a point where you said this is the one thing that gay and bisexual men have. It's that sexuality is the one thing, and I'm paraphrasing in general, but you said it's the one thing that we have. In other words, it's not anti-hate crime when we're on the streets. It's the one thing that we can do in our bedrooms that we own for ourselves. We can express ourselves however we want. And it was that clincher when you wrote that part, and I'll let people read exactly what you wrote that really resonated with me, that says, yeah, this is the one thing where we can be ourselves when we're alone, privately in our own bedrooms, doing the things that we really want. And I really want to thank you for writing that. To just elaborate a little bit on what you were trying to say.
I got eviscerated for that chapter. I think it was especially by women and straight people who maybe were not aware of the culture of bareback sex among gay men. But all I'm advocating for is you're allowed to decide the level of risk that you take in your sexual activity.
Yes.
And for me, and the thing is, in order to evaluate the level of sexual risk that you want to take, you have to have the correct information. So you have to be aware of what STIs can do to your body. You have to be aware of how they're treated. You have to know what your partner is doing, right? Like they have to be honest about their sexual risk if they're having unprotected sex, what their statuses are, whatever it is, right?
You have to get checked more often than not, you know?
Yeah, in order for you to make an informed decision, you have to have all the information available. But if you do have all the information available and you decide, hey, for me, it's not the end of the world if I get gonorrhea or chlamydia. I will just get treated, not have sex for a week and tell my partners. And for me, the pleasure I receive, the connection I have to sex is so much better without a condom that me getting gonorrhea once a year and getting treated. Okay, that's something I'm willing to take. That should be a choice that you are allowed to decide for yourself, obviously with the consent of your partners. I had a girlfriend recently, we broke up, we're still amiable, but the way kind of we navigated this is I'm very low on or high on risk, you know, like stuff like this, versus she's very low on risk. And also it affects women or vulvas differently, right? It's actually gonorrhea and chlamydia is actually kind of a bitch for them versus it's less so for us. But she was like, okay, this is what we'll do because I want to have unprotected sex with you. You'll get tested, you know, I get tested every 6 weeks anyway. But it's like after I got tested, results came back negative. We'd have unprotected sex for a few weeks. And then I'd end up going to a gay sex party or whatever it was where I didn't wear a condom. I'd let her know. We'd wear a condom for the next few weeks until I got tested again. It came back negative. And this is what we would do. And it was a way where she felt comfortable with the level of risk that she had. We were still able to have unprotected sex. I did not feel like she was imposing. I had a girlfriend once who was like, I want you to wear condoms with everyone else, even though we are also wearing condoms. And I'm like, I don't like
That's not going to work.
No, I don't think it's going to work for me. And there were other issues going on as well, but that felt really limiting of my behavior in a way that I did not want. Versus her, she was like, okay, I want you to be able to do this, but I want to feel safe. Is there a compromise we could reach? And the compromise actually worked quite great. And there were no issues with it. And that was, you know, required us, having these conversations, deciding what level of risk we're willing to take. And it worked perfectly for us.
I love that. That's a mature relationship when you can come to a compromise. You can see each other's point of view. I have another question about the difference between pansexuality and bisexuality and phrase sexuality. Can you just kind of let us know what all that is?
This is confusing a little bit, and there's still some confusion among bisexuals and pansexuals as to what it means. So that's like, if you're confused and you're like gay or straight, it's like, I get it, because bi and pan people don't agree. But in short, there was initially some confusion with bisexuality, and people started to think more recently that it was exclusionary of like trans people or non-binary people, because bi meant two. And because of that, they kind of use the word pansexual because pan means all, being like, oh, I'm attracted to all genders. And then bisexual people were like, what? Essentially, we were like, no, we're attracted to non-binary people and trans people. Like the reason we had bisexual, and now everyone will be like, well, bisexuality means they have all these different meanings. Like, oh, it's attracted to genders that are your own and genders that aren't your own. And those are the bi, or they're like, you're attracted to male and females. And that's the, whatever it is. And I'm like, clearly, when this word came out, we didn't have a nuanced understanding of gender. It was clearly not meant to be exclusionary. But then so bi people kind of push back against pan people, and then they're like, okay, so we're going to change the definition slightly here. So now kind of bisexuality often means that you're attracted to people because of their gender. You're attracted to masculinity. You're attracted to femininity. You find dicks and pussies and tits hot, versus pansexual is you're attracted to people regardless of their gender. So you actually don't care whether they're masculine or feminine. And in that way, I'm very bisexual because I'm turned on by all these things. I find high masculinity. I'm attracted to femininity. I'm attracted to big dicks and big tits and all that shit, right? So that is kind of a distinction that's being done now. However, there's some confusion with that because some people identify as both bisexual and pansexual. And if you're identifying as both, when one kind of means the opposite, so like clearly there's some confusion. I think this used to be a huge debate among bi and pan people, and I think now we're finally realizing, like, we're all on the same fucking team here, you guys. Like there are just some minor fucking nuances.
Labels. Not the Jets and the Sharks. We're all on the same team.
We're all on the same team. Like, let's relax. And then so free sexuality is kind of different. And this is something that I talk about in the book, and I've kind of like, I don't want to say changed my tune on it.
This was really interesting because you saw a therapist that helped you figure out what free sexuality was, right?
And essentially, it's this idea that like you actually lose attraction to people once you have an emotional connection with them, and that like it could be, you know, directly resulting because you have emotional intimacy or emotional avoidancy issues. That could be causing it, but it also could just be like you're wired this way, in a way that for you, sex is not necessarily an expression of your love. It's not how you have intimacy. For you, sex is about the novelty, the excitement, the kinks, the newness. And the way that you have intimacy with your partners is through cuddling, through making out, through hearts to hearts, through watching TV together, whatever it is. It doesn't mean that like sex has to be the glue that holds your relationship together, that shows you how much you love each other. So in that way, sex doesn't have to be this thing between your primary, like this, you know, again, that glue that holds you together with your primary partner. And I spoke about this, and I spoke about it in a fleeting way. The purpose of me talking about it was more to be like, no matter what your relationship with sex is, you can find a partner that matches. But like for this, I almost was afraid in writing about it because I kind of get messages. I'm like, oh God, am I just enabling emotionally avoidant people who have intimacy issues? And now they're like, oh, I'm free sexual and it's fine. And I've been like accused of that. I'm like,
no.
It's like, I don't like, yes, first of all, emotionally, like, I don't know, like you might be hardwired this way, or you might have some emotional intimacy issues, but no matter what, I think that's helpful to have a label, and it's helpful for you to recognize this, to be able to share this with your partner before going into it. Because if you start dating someone and they really want sex with you every day, and that's not how you express your love, and you kind of get tired of it quickly, like you can say like, hey, this is not because I do not love you. It's not because I don't enjoy having sex with you. This is my relationship with sex. But no, I was anxious after the book came out, and I got some critiques. I'm like, oh God, am I just enabling emotionally avoidant people who like gay men who can't have connected sex? And it's like, I don't know. I'm just sharing my experience here.
I think you're sharing your experience, and I really commend you for it. It opened my eyes, and I thought I've heard so much, and I really appreciate it. And I think it's just, for the most part, it's going to be an open letter to what could be, and look at your own things. We have to talk really quickly before we let you go. At the end of the book, I don't think it's giving away too much. You were dating somebody, and you say the question, like, I don't know if he's still going to be with me or not.
We're no longer dating, but we are friends.
Oh, no, he had an OnlyFans page, and
you should still follow it. Jordan Jameson. Please follow his OnlyFans page.
The other thing I wanted
follow,
to know,
I love that I'm plugging it.
And then last year you did a party that sounded so great called Boyslut Party. Are you doing that party still?
Yeah. Well, so it was. Oh my God, it was amazing. It was fucking amazing. And I mean, it's all in the book, so you guys will read about it. It is a lot of work, obviously, to throw a party. And I did it right before, essentially, I had to write this draft of the book. And they're like, oh, when are you doing it again? I'm like, I'm on a deadline, then I'm traveling for my book tour. Finally, now I'm back for my book tour. I'm not working on another book for at least another 6 months. I'm giving myself a break here. So yes, Boyslut will be happening. I don't know exactly when, but some point by the end of the year. Follow me on Instagram, Zachary Zane _. I'll put that in here as well. and because I'll post about it a bunch, about when that's exactly going to be. But that is a party, and it's like for bi men and their admirers. And the reason why I did this party was just because, like, obviously they're gay sex parties, which I fucking love, and that's just gay men. Then there were queer sex parties, which was like women hooking up with women and women hooking up with men, but never men hooking up with men at these queer sex parties. I'm like, I want an actual bisexual. I want to see a guy getting fisted by his girlfriend while sucking a dick. Like that's the shit I want to fucking.
Me too.
And that's the shit that I saw. It was like extremely fucking bisexual. There was gay sex, there was straight sex, there was queer sex, there was bi sex, there was every configuration with non-binary, trans people, every configuration humanly possible existed in a way that you actually don't see a lot of at sex parties. It really ends up being gay or straight. So I was really happy to be able to throw this party here.
Fabulous.
I love it. Well, we want to thank you, Zachary Zane, for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
The book is called Boyslut. It's available everywhere. We both have our copies. We all have
I left my
copies.
book in the other room. I can't
Hear
put it
you.
on
No,
the
it's
screen.
okay. It's okay.
It is so good. It is a perfect summer read. You got to get it. It's on
Yes, it
Amazon. We'll list this on TAGSPodcast.com. Follow you at Zachary Zane. How else should we follow you?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Zachary Zane _ on Instagram. Again, I have this digital zine, which is also kind of doubles as my newsletter, also called Boyslut. That's on Substack. Boyslut, one word. If you type in 2 words, like the reason why it actually is one word is Amazon would have dinged me. Like slut would have been a curse word and it would have been buried in searches. So the way I was able to get around that was actually having Boyslut as one word. But if you type it in as 2 words, it's really difficult to find it because Amazon will ding you because it is a curse word. But yeah, so you can subscribe to my newsletter or follow that. I also post like party news about that stuff, new things that are going on there, and it's nonfiction erotica. That's fun. My Instagram, Zachary Zane _ or ZacharyZane.com.
I love it. And maybe stick around for the last final segment with us where we do this. Straight Up Gay Porn does this thing where they ask the question this week out of 15 gay porn stars. I put it in the link there for you, Zachary.
Take a look here.
Who took the best photo of the week? And we're talking about you tapping into your boy side on this one.
Oh my God.
Good ones. It's it's our job on an audio podcast, because this gets repackaged tomorrow, to just vividly describe why we chose the one we do. We won't put you on blast right now, but do you want to play?
I'm now. These dicks are huge. Jesus.
So is that a yes or a no?
I would love to play.
Okay, so we'll give you a second to
Every
look, but
single
Kodi,
one
go
of them.
first. And
Okay.
You tell, yeah.
So my pick of the week is, first of all, the dicks are huge, like he said.
First guy is like,
Was this
what
my
is this fucking
episode?
leg?
But my vote goes to Chris Temptation. I think maybe because I want to try this pose in one of my thirst traps on Mr. Maurice. But he's in a restroom in front of a tub, completely naked. He's doing the look at my pits pose, but with both arms. And he's just a cutie, and his dick is so cute. Cute is not a word I should be using for a dick. It's hot as fuck. His dick is hot as fuck, and he's hot. So yeah, he's my pick for the week. What about you,
I love
Steve?
it. Mine goes to Troye Green, as I just scrolled really quickly, and loving the body, loving that he's just chilling on a Saturday afternoon. Okay, I made that up with his beanie on.
Oh, he's
blue.
underneath my guy.
Yeah, and I think what I really love about him is that he's got these thick legs and this thick cock. It's really juicy, and it's just screaming to sit on. Love the sparse hair on his body, but I don't know. I want to look more into Troye Green. That's my pick of the week. I don't know. All right. You've given you enough time, Zachary Zane.
I think I'm getting a 2-for-1 deal. I'm gonna go with Brock Banks and Danny Lee.
That was my
Of
second
course
choice.
you are.
So I got a 2-for-1 deal, and I can just see myself. I just want to be sandwiched in the middle, a little daisy chain here. So Brock Banks is fucking me while I'm fucking Dan. Oh, it's Danny Ice. Sorry, I misread it. While I'm
Don't get it
fucking
wrong.
that. So if I could just be the daisy chain in the middle of the two of them, that would be my happy place. I really shouldn't be doing this now that I've had my vasectomy and I can't have sex right now. This is just torture at this point.
You'll be healed very soon. You'll be healed.
I'll be, and then you'll see me at Pig House or whatever the good gay sex clubs these days. I feel like they all have the most disgusting names, and I love it.
They
Yeah.
do, and we love it.
TBU is a big one.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll see me there. I'll be there fucking around. Don't worry.
Cute.
Zachary Zane, thank you so much. Again, the book's called Boyslut. Get it, and thank you so much. We hope
Thank
to
you,
have you back on
Zachary.
the
Guys.
show. All right, thanks so much.
How do I get out of here? All right, got it.
All right, love it, Kodi. Oh my
So
gosh.
much fun.
Yes.
He's so lovely and just a ball of energy, and I love it. He's the greatest.
Absolutely. Doug says Elijah Zane. He picked Elijah. Dylan says Elijah Zane. Wow. Okay. Casey Matthews says Dan Damage. Dan Damage says Justin. And Casey Matthew with that mustache. And my God. Oh, okay. I love that. Kodi, thank you so much. What a
darling.
blast. This is great. You can follow my co-host, Kodi. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching. KMD Coaching on Instagram. Follow him, his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. Follow me on Instagram. I am _Steve V. Or follow the show at TAGSPodcast.com. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay
sex.
Yes, darlings. Love you.
Love you guys. Good night.
I think we made our time frame.
Right on the dot.